just one matchday left, the CAF Champions Women's League has delivered thrilling moments, stand-up performances and historic achievements. Joining us today is Ashley Nakazwe, a seasoned expert on African football, to break down the key narratives from this year's competition. Ashley, good to speak to you as always. Now, you've had the pleasure of watching every single one of those matches. Just walk us through what's been the highlight to this point.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm always delighted to join you here. My highlight, I think the entire tournament has been breathtaking because we've seen how the debutants have performed. That has been my highlight, just seeing how the new ones have been able to stand their ground and just have a very, very good performance. And then interestingly, yesterday was the anniversary of the first Champions League. So it was also nice to just see how far we've come as a tournament.
So we talk about the growth of the tournament, but let's also talk about the growth of the quality of football. I mean, if you go back to when the tournament started and to where we are now, what sort of milestones in entertaining type of football do you think have been achieved?
I think the main reminder has been there's no underdogs. From the time that the Champions League had been introduced for us on the women's side, there's been different teams that have participated. But every year we're getting new teams that are showing us the different sides of football, especially us here on the Kosafa region. We are used to our kind of play, but getting to see teams from the north and the west coming with different teams every time, it's been very interesting to see.
Now, as far as Doha's El Madani has been a revelation of this tournament, how impactful has her performance been, and what does this say about the team's future?
Oh, listen, with her, it's not a surprise. It's not a surprise because we've seen her play. It's not her first time participating in the tournament, so it's been very, very interesting to see how consistency has been from their side, yeah.
Now, TP Mazembe, obviously familiar with the men's outfit, the women's team, historic run to the final, which has been an absolutely remarkable journey. Can we draw any parallels to the success of the men's team to the women's team? As is there pedigree in TP Mazembe? Is that what we're seeing at the moment?
You know what? I think TP Mazembe has learned their lesson since the last time when they participated in the tournament in 2022. They only made it up until the group stages. They were not able to proceed. So I think them taking a step back has worked in their advantage. And also TP Mazembe, the men's team, is very successful. So I'm sure it's been good to see how much of their mistakes they've learned and how much of the men's influence is within their side of play.
Well, not everybody's been victorious. Edo Queens and FC Massa both had strong campaigns despite their semi-final losses. What lessons can these debutants take away from this tournament?
I think they should be very proud of themselves. Getting to that stage as debutants is very, very impressive, especially looking at the kind of teams that had to be eliminated, such as our very own Mamelodi Sundowns. So they should be very proud of their performance, especially Edo Queens. They really, really did wonders in this tournament.
Now, how significant is this tournament, actually, do you think, for the growth of women's football in Africa, particularly with debutants, as we said, Edo Queens and Massa making it to the knockout stages?
I think it's very important because you get to see how much of these women want to play, and going forward, I think other teams would want to participate as well. Especially those ones that were not able to qualify from their respective regions, I think they would want to push harder next football season to make sure that they appear in such tournaments.
Now, if we were to rewind the clock and go back 10 years and looking at a women's football on the planet, the number of spectators that are starting to watch matches, particularly overseas, is absolutely incredible. Some of the biggest spectator events have been women's football. This as a spectator event, how does it qualify? How does it rate this Champions League?
I think with this one, it's been actually very disappointing, if I'm going to be very honest. Maybe because of where it's being played from, not mainly from Casablanca. Teams like ASFA, their home is in Casablanca, so them having to play in a different stadium where their fans are not very familiar with has been very, very disappointing. But I'm hoping that maybe the next Champions League, wherever it's going to be, whether it be in Morocco or a different country, they do look at such factors, because some of the stadiums in Morocco were closed due to them preparing for the international tournaments that are coming up. But it's been very, very disappointing, the turnout at the stadium for this tournament in particular.
Right, now to wrap the conversation, let's look ahead to what improvements or innovations do you think CAF can implement to make the Women's Champions League even more impactful for future editions?
A few days before the Champions League had started, we were part of a women's football workshop for the Champions League, and one of the key things that were spoken about is what are they going to improve in terms of, are we going to have more teams participating? Would there be a shuffle of where the games are being played from? There's been so many interesting additions to women's football. The money that has been has been added on 52% since when the Champions League has started. So there's a lot of improvements that are happening. Obviously, optimistic that there'll be so much more.
Ashley Nakazwe, always good to speak to you. Thanks for your time.